The woman had been married to her husband for 20 years, but when the husband faced bankruptcy and was over £1 million in debt, she ignored their decades-long marriage and insisted on a divorce. She even said she was willing to leave with nothing, just to quickly sever ties with him. Now that the husband has become successful in business, the woman shamelessly comes back, begging her ex-husband to remarry her. She bluntly says, "Either remarry me, or give me £2 million as compensation for my lost youth." The ex-husband coldly replied, "Do you think you deserve it?"
我们那个店呢是投资是开始预计是6到80万，结果投了100多万，100多万呢还遭了一场火灾，还连续亏我们半年。他提出离婚的时候是生意最糟糕的时候，火灾发生了，生意持续的在亏本。我还跟他求好话，开始说离婚的时候，我是叫他不要离婚。这个时候我有困难，需要你来支持我、理解我，并不是你来给我制造麻烦、给我拖后腿。他不听，反正就要离。
The man on screen is Mr. Zhong. Next to him is his ex-wife Ms. Gong. When talking about his ex-wife, Mr. Zhong gritted his teeth in anger. Mr. Zhong said, "We were married for 20 years. When I still had money, our relationship was great. But in the past 2 years, my business kept going downhill, and I racked up a lot of debt. My wife started arguing with me every day, and divorce was always on her lips. When my hot pot restaurant caught fire, it was burned to the ground. That was when my wife absolutely insisted on divorcing me. I begged her not to talk about divorce then. We had been together for so many years. I needed her support and encouragement. I believed I would bounce back. But she didn't listen. She cried, shouted, even threatened suicide, and still pushed for divorce. She even said she would leave with nothing. I knew she couldn't stand seeing me fall. She didn't want to suffer with me. And honestly, I was too tired back then, so I agreed to the divorce. I thought I'd be devastated. But when I finally held that divorce certificate, I was surprisingly happy. I was finally free. I was so relieved, I even borrowed money to treat my employees to a big dinner." Hearing Mr. Zhong say he felt free, Ms. Gong immediately snapped back 3 times. "That's not true." Ms. Gong said, "What my husband said just now is all lies. He still loves me. He's just too proud to admit it. Back then, yes, I did argue with him and talk about divorce all the time, but I didn't really mean it. I just wanted to motivate him. I wanted him to hate me, then turn that hate into drive and rebuild his career. Otherwise, why would I leave everything behind when we divorced? But he never understood my good intentions. Now that he's doing well again, the hot pot place has even opened new branches, and he bought a car. I want to remarry him. But he refuses. If that's the case, why did he live with me for 2 more years after the divorce?"
他现在是找个理由什么？既然离婚了，为什么跟他住在一起？他这意思啊，可以说99.9%，他主动打电话叫我回去的也有，我也是回去看父母亲，会逢年过节会回去，因为小孩在家里。
你的意思是，我只是回去探望，并不代表我是要跟他一起生活。
也可以这么说吧。
Talking about those 2 years of cohabitation, Mr. Zhong almost coughed up blood in anger. Mr. Zhong explained, "After the divorce, she went away to another city for about half a year. I have no idea what she was doing during that time. One day it was pouring rain, and she called me crying, asking me to pick her up at the train station. I asked her what was wrong, but she wouldn't say. She looked pitiful, so I let her stay at the house for a bit. I told her I'd help her find a place in a few days. But once she moved in, she refused to leave. She kept saying that half of the house belonged to her, so she had the right to stay. I was so furious, I just got in my car and left. After that, I stayed at my hot pot restaurant. But my parents and child were still at home, so I would occasionally go back to visit them. That's what she calls living together for 2 years. After she moved back in, she didn't behave herself. She tried everything to force me to remarry her. She constantly argued with my parents. Small fights every 3 days, big fights every 5. Eventually, my parents couldn't take it anymore and moved back to our hometown. On top of that, she'd often come to my restaurant and meddle in everything. If she didn't like one of the employees, she'd fire them, acting like she was the boss's wife. Over those months, she fired 6 of my staff. I almost went bankrupt again. That's when I told her clearly, there's no way we're getting back together. Give it up. But she wouldn't listen. She tried everything to force me into remarrying her.
因为我老公以前的话就是说对我一直都还是很好的，就是说
没有好过，不要说很好啊，不要夸推荐。我没这样说。
你明明说了。
哦，你可以去描述我说的，也许我忘了，或者也许我狡辩都有可能，是吧？
Faced with his ex-wife's endless drama, Mr. Zhong seemed helpless, but his stance was crystal clear. There was no way he was going to remarry her. Because, frankly, this ex-wife of his was just too scary.
很少回来，还有一次照相照、传家照，我如果不叫他，是不是我把他当外人，对吧？但叫他他不来，结果还因为这事情大吵一架，还打架。传家照，他说不跟你们照，你问他
为什么？
那一次是我开车走了去市场做生意，我几个月不打电话，几个月
不是，我当时是没有这个意思，我是对他有意见，他就是这样的，他说他大哥在家里面。
我们没吵架哎，没什么事都没过大年哎。
我是对他有意见，我对他大哥没有什么意见。
所以有没有把我家人当亲人？他经常一句话挂在嘴边是，我一家人欺负他，只要他跟我有矛盾，他会找很多理由，别人在陷害我们，别人在挑拨。就前几天说把我姐姐的孙子要杀掉，
是干什么？
Mr. Zhong continued. Ever since my ex-wife came back, she's treated my family like enemies. She drove my parents back to the countryside. Even my brother, who barely visits once every 6 months, was yelled at when he came. Just a few days ago, she even said she'd kill my sister's grandson. You tell me, how could I ever get back together with someone like that? Hearing Mr. Zhong say she treated his family like enemies, Ms. Gong admitted it, without shame. But she said it was because they deserved it. Ms. Gong explained, my husband's family are awful people. When we were getting divorced, none of them tried to talk us out of it. Especially his sister. Just 2 months after the divorce, she tried to introduce him to another woman. Who does that? We were divorced, yes, but it didn't feel final to me. I still planned to get back together with him. Did she consider my feelings? Did she treat me like family? We had a fight the other day, and I thought about that again. I got angry and said what I said, but of course I'd never actually do it.
我离婚之后，1、2个月，我姐姐就作为姐姐关心弟弟。如果我跟他没离婚，我姐姐这边帮我找对象，那我觉得绝对有问题。彻底离婚了，他本来在所有人眼里，他就胡搅蛮缠，都很那个。
但是你知不知道，我现在
谁知道他赌气还是干嘛的呢？对不对？那我姐姐
讲完，
我姐姐作为疼我这个弟弟，比较关心我，很正常吧？没犯什么错误，没犯什么罪吧？跟我介绍对象也没成功，是吧？只是介绍人没成功，他就一直把这事说到现在不停，反而说我姐姐喊我离婚的，意思我跟他离婚，我姐姐没劝他走，我姐姐没劝，就这样子。
不但没有劝我们不离婚，还给你介绍对象。
对。
Mr. Zhong said. When we divorced, my ex-wife didn't take anything, she left with nothing. 2 or 3 months later, my sister thought I should find a new girlfriend, since I was still young. She thought a new partner could help me out. But when my ex-wife came back, she went straight to that woman's workplace and beat her up. Because of her, that relationship didn't even get started. And ever since then, she's hated my sister. She's called her non-stop to curse her out. After my sister blocked her, she went to my sister's house and caused a scene. Just a few days ago, she went again and said she'd kill her grandson. You tell me, after I finally escaped that mess, how could I jump back into it? So today, let me make this clear. There's absolutely no way I'll remarry my ex-wife. Seeing that her ex-husband was so firm, Ms. Gong finally realized there was no hope of getting back together. She said, I left the marriage with nothing. That's so unfair to me. If you refuse to remarry me, then you must compensate me with 2 million yuan, as payment for my 20 years of youth. That's my final bottom line. If you don't agree, I'll make your life hell. I'll ruin your family, and you'll never get married again. I'll wait forever if I have to. Hearing his ex-wife demand 2 million yuan for lost youth, Mr. Zhong didn't get angry. He just replied coldly, I won't give you a single cent. If you think you're in the right, then take it to court. Legally, we are no longer related in any way. If you want to use lost youth as an excuse, then let the court decide. He said he's already let go of the 20 years of love. Now the only thing he wants to hold on to is his dignity and peace. He won't let himself be dragged down by emotional entanglements anymore, and he certainly won't pay for a marriage that ended long ago. This time, he will only settle everything according to the law. No more compromises, no more soft-heartedness.
A 20-year marriage, reduced to ashes by a single fire, revealing the truth of their relationship. Mr. Zhong was abandoned by the person closest to him at the hardest time in his life. But once he rose again, that same person came back claiming to love him. Was it true remorse or calculated manipulation? As for Ms. Gong, she says it was to motivate her husband, but with her threats and chaos, is that really trying to make amends? Or is it just another form of control? This relationship is no longer about love. It's a battle of dignity and boundaries. So here's the question. Do you think Ms. Gong's demands will be fulfilled? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and let's talk about it together. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.